Welcome to the Jameson Files. I'm your host, Carrie Weber, and we're flying solo today. You're stuck with just me in today's session. But every once in a while, try to mix it up a little bit, and wanted to spend some time one-on-one, me and you, talking about your future in leading your practice to greater heights. So today we're going to talk about what's your plan for 2025. What are the areas that you're going to work on to improve, and how can you do that more successfully to see the results you're looking for this year? So I want to start with just some questions for you. How did 2024 go for you? I don't know how many of you do an end of year review for yourselves, evaluate how you did. Did you accomplish your goals? What did the year end up like for you? What worked well? What could have used improvement? What are we going to focus on this year? So, when you do a lot of strategic planning, which I encourage all of you to do as business owners or business leaders, you have to think about, what are you going to start? What are you going to stop? What are you going to change? What are you going to keep? Those are important conversations to have with yourself and with your team to make sure that you're changing in the best possible ways for your future. So I don't know who's with me in this session. You may be a member of a dental team. You may be in a leadership position in the practice. You may be the doctor or a practice owner. So I'm going to try and keep this pretty universal in who I'm talking to, but we are going to be dipping our toes in strategic planning, decision making, and leadership. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the operations of your practices, and I'm going to do this in a very finite amount of time. So let's just give you that opportunity to get focused. I choose a word of the year for the year every year, and my word for myself this year is focus. How can I focus on the things that matter most, or focus on areas that can get us the best improvement, the best results moving forward? I don't remember who said this to me once upon a time, but it's always stuck with me, and I share it with others. No change means no change. So if you want to see something different this year, we're going to have to take a step back from our businesses or our practices and identify areas of opportunity or how we can sustain healthily in the year to come. Let's start with, as you're thinking about your strategy for the year, let's start with the state of the industry. The American Dental Association's Health Policy Institute does a lot of surveys and gives a lot of reporting on the state of the industry that is accessible to all of us. You can search ADA Health Policy Institute and you can find a plethora of statistics, reporting, and information and insights that are relevant to the dental profession. And one of the most recent ones that they released was the economic outlook and emerging issues in dentistry. There's even a webinar that they presented that you can access online. And so if you like to nerd out on the statistics and the industry trends like I do, you can go find that online, and I encourage you to do so. It's good to know what pond you're swimming in, right? So what this outlook and report of emerging issues in dentistry revealed was that the practices that were surveyed and responded to the survey said the top concerns in the profession for them are these. And here are the top 3 concerns for 2025. Staffing was 62% top concern. I'm sure that's no surprise to anybody, because that's been one of the top issues for the last couple of years and continues to be on the forefront of a lot of the struggles that practices are dealing with right now, is finding the team that you need to fill those voids in your team and your practices. Number 2, dealing with insurance. That's 58% of the top issues for the year. Again, that's no surprise because as insurance gets a stronger foothold in our profession and the rules of the game continue to change, and it's becoming more and more difficult to manage the insurance aspect of your practice. So it's a huge piece of the puzzle for many, many practices. So that's number 2. Number 3, rising overhead costs. That's 45% of the respondents that shared that is the issue. I would lean that into rising overhead costs, and also the probably the biggest pain point is your profitability shrinking. So the interesting thing is, of the top 3 issues, they're all somewhat married together. One of the issues of rising overhead costs is the increase in salaries, which fits in beautifully with the staffing issues that everybody's having. And then, of course, the issues in terms of finding profitability in relationships with insurance continues to be an issue. So they're all somewhat interconnected. Those are the top 3 issues that respondents to the ADA Health Policy Institute's survey said coming down the line for 2025. So what I want to do is I want to take those top 3 issues, use a bit of the off-the-cuff thoughts and suggestions for how do you tackle this for you this year, if any of those are the issues for you. So let's start with team. I know they call it staffing, but I prefer to say building your team. And what we need to think about is there's a lot of you in areas in the country that are continuing to struggle with this. The supply and demand, a little economics terminology for you, the supply is lower than the demand. So there are fewer hygienists, fewer assistants, fewer qualified candidates coming out into the workforce for us than there are the demand for them. You see this a lot in the hygienist role, but we're also seeing that in other positions as well. I want to tell you, friend to friend, over our little cup of coffee we're having right now, a little heart to heart, if you are sounding like a broken record saying, well, we just can't find anybody around here. We just can't find anybody around here. There's just nobody around here. So we're just going to sit in our bowl of suffering and keep suffering. Well, you're right. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, it is hard to find people. But does that mean that you get to sit and quit? No, there's no sitting and quitting in dentistry. We continue on, we persist. And what we have to do is start looking at, okay, the ad I've been putting out hasn't been working. So maybe we need to revisit our ad. Let me tell you guys something. Have you gone and looked on Indeed lately? If you sound and look and read exactly like the 75 other job posts, why am I going to apply for yours? If I get to choose, what am I going to choose? I'm going to choose the one that stands out. I'm going to choose the one that I connect with. I'm going to choose the one that aligns with my philosophies and values and my goals for my professional career. So it may be that you need to take a look at the ad that you're posting. If it's generic and general and cold, then there's nothing that's really making me want to apply for that position. So the tables have turned a little bit when it comes into recruiting. You have to reflect what you expect. So if you want to recruit high-performing rock stars, then you need to read like that, you need to sound like that, you need to deliver an exceptional recruitment process like that. Yes, I said deliver a recruitment process, because oftentimes we're doing this as just another chore that we have to do. Well, if you sound like it's a chore to talk to me, I'm not very enticed to come and talk to you. And you may say, well, Carrie, back in my day, we didn't have to do that. Well, I know, but here we are in 2025, and the primary issue in the profession is staffing. So what are you going to do differently to not only attract the right team members to your practice, but keep them? If we find them, we want to get them and we want to keep them. So you have to keep in mind what you are putting out there is going to attract the kind of people that you're looking for, or it's not. So keep that in mind. Also, this blends beautifully in one of the steps of what we call the model of success. And that step is to maximize a minimal team. I'm not saying that we go fire a whole bunch of people. What I'm saying is that we maximize the team we have to the best of our abilities. If you have struggled for months and months and months to find a specific position in your practice, we may need to take a step back and see how can we function as a practice as effectively and with as little stress as possible with the team that we have. Do we have clear roles and responsibilities? Can we delegate more to other people? Are we maximizing the skills and talents with where it's appropriate for us to effectively manage our time and as successful of a schedule as possible. Now, I know you're going to say, yeah, but Carrie, it's the hygienist. I don't have a hygienist. Well, we have to start looking outside the box. What can you do with what you have to get the best result? Is it ideal? No. But can you frame out a model where you can use the best possible amount of time where you need to be? Because even if you're the doctor and you have no hygienists and you have to be doing your hygiene, you're still only one person. So how do we schedule a day to be as successful as possible with the team that you have? It's time to think outside the box and maximize a minimal team. So what can you delegate? What can you cross-train? How can you adapt your workflow? Be creative. Adapt your job post. What sounds generic and what stands out? Can we rewrite that? Be fast and deliver an exceptional recruitment process. Reflect what you expect. And then finally, if you want them to stay and if you want them to be successful, have a clear and strong onboarding and training process. You're going to be so happy to have a person in that position that you're going to forget that that person doesn't know your practice. They don't know your culture. They don't know the systems that you've worked so hard to implement. They don't know what they don't know. And so we want to set them up within the framework of your practice to be successful. And you do that by effectively onboarding them into your culture and training them in your systems and processes. Put a plan in place. If you don't have time to do that, you don't have any right to be bringing another person into your practice, period. You want to have successful team members that are engaged, that are locked in and committed to bringing excellence to your day-to-day practice, then you need to train them to do so appropriately. Set clear expectations, have clear roles and responsibilities, have a training plan, and it doesn't have to just be you or one person on the team doing the training. Everyone can share in the load of training a new team member. Make a plan and execute the plan and spend connection time with that new team member to make sure they're locking in and latching on to what right looks like for you. That's how you can get longevity and commitment in your new team members. So the second issue, that was staffing. The second issue is dealing with insurance. Now, I would recommend if you have big questions in insurance, there are people out there that this is what they do. This is where they focus. Teresa Duncan is one of my favorites that focus on insurance and coding and making sure you're doing things the right way right now. Now, all that being said, if you're dealing with a lot of insurance in your practice, and that's becoming a burden to your practice, we need to think about how are we executing this system or these processes. If you have a person that's responsible, you need to have clear roles and responsibilities for the members of your business team. If you have somebody that's specifically on insurance, then what are their responsibilities in that role and what are your expectations? If you have 3 business team members, but there's no real clear understanding of who's ultimately responsible for what in the business systems of the practice, it would benefit you to clarify that and organize that with your business team. A lot of times what happens when things start to fall through the cracks it's because we don't have clear expectations of who's responsible for what. So then it becomes a game of, well, I thought she was going to do it. Well, I thought she was going to do it. Well, then nobody does it. So we want to make sure we have clear processes in place, clear role responsibilities, and that you have clear insurance management processes. Something we've always said at Jameson is we want you to be insurance aware, not insurance driven. So if you find that insurance is starting to dictate your dentistry or your treatment planning or recommendations and so on, then you may be in danger of being insurance driven. And if profitability is an issue for you, an insurance driven practice with no clear processes, roles, or responsibilities finds it very difficult to turn a profit. Do you have the team capacity to fully focus on a role for insurance management, or do you need to outsource some of your revenue cycle management? And what pieces would be needed to outsource? So there are a lot of companies that do different elements or softwares that do different elements of that insurance process. Until you know what you need and you've thought through what right would look like for you in a partnership with an outsourcing company, don't jump into the deep end. find out what you want and then do your due diligence and research to vet companies or people or resources that might be the solution for what you need to alleviate some of that laborious burden you may be feeling in your practice. If you have one or two team members, it may benefit you to outsource some of that insurance management piece, because you have to understand it's going to be an investment. But it again falls back to the conversation about building out your team that you have and building out effective insurance management, that you have clear roles and responsibilities in the business team, and that all of your needs in business are being fulfilled. If you have somebody that's responsible for all of it, one person, that becomes very challenging for them to juggle all those pieces. So there's a lot of clarification that you need to make for yourself and decision making on if outsourcing is the right answer for you. And then also, have you evaluated your relationship with your insurance plans? And what do I mean by that? Have you run the reports to know how many patients you have in the different plans? What's the treatment that's being presented? What's the treatment that's been accepted and completed? And how much are you writing off on all of that all those different types of treatment? Is this a valuable entity for your practice, or is it simply something that's making you run faster on the hamster wheel? So when you think about profitability and managing insurance being two of the top issues for 2025, it would be beneficial to evaluate your relationship with those plans. Now, I'm not saying you have to go out and go full fee for service. That is not what I'm saying. You can, or you can stay exactly as you are. But if you're going to stay in the relationships you're in, know what those relationships are and know what it's taking for you to be in those relationships, and make sure that it's beneficial for both. So just something to mull about in your brain over your coffee this morning, or your wine this evening, or whatever you're doing right now. The next issue that was talked about was the increase in cost, overhead. And what I said was it's more the decrease in profitability that everybody's really freaking out about. And so the big issues in that realm are salaries. I see a lot of issues with inventory control and management and the costs of inventory, and then investing in the right resources and measuring your results. There's a lot of blind spending that happens in practices. There's a lot of inconsistency in inventory control, a lack of understanding of what you're spending, a lack of understanding of what you're spending on in your investments for your practice. So remember, in order to increase profit in your business, you can basically do one or more of three things. You increase your production, you increase your fees, you decrease your costs. So when you think about the opportunities in your practice, look at it through those lenses. What are my opportunities to increase production? Have you run reports on treatment that's been presented but not accepted or incomplete? Can we do some follow-up on treatment that you've diagnosed and presented and recommended to patients that they haven't moved forward with? If you're looking to decrease your costs, have we worked with our reps to talk through our line items and see if there are if there's anything that we can negotiate? Are you tracking the results of things like marketing that you're investing in? Or are you simply just checking a box and thinking that does the trick? Remember, a way to increase production is to get more really great qualified new patients into your practice. And if you're doing ineffective, lackluster marketing but spending gobs and gobs on it, how is that serving you? So do the due diligence and find out, is what I'm investing in worth it? Increase production, increase your fees. So do a fee analysis or have someone help you do a fee analysis, and decrease your costs. Those are the ways to help you turn your profitability around. So you may be thinking, how do I get unstuck? How do I focus more effectively? What decisions do I need to make? There are some exercises that you need to do from a leader standpoint to get really clear on where you're taking your bus this year. At Jameson, we have what we call a vision worksheet. Now you can email us info@jmsn, that's Jameson with no vowels.com. You can email us and I'd be happy to send you a vision worksheet for you to do that we've created, but you can create your own. Let me just tell you some of the questions I want you to answer for your own self. In your mind's eye, when you think about your practice and what you want your practice to be doing or how you want your practice to run in the future, what does right look like? That's the biggest question I want you to be able to answer in all aspects of your practice. What does right look like? What kind of dentistry do you want to be doing? What kind of procedures do you want to be doing more of? What do you want your patients to be coming to you for? What do you want your team set up to be like? Who do you want on your team? And what do you want them to be doing? How many days off, how many weeks, days of vacation do you want to have off? How much money do you want to be making? How much do you want the practice to be making? What do you want your facility to look like? What do you want your reputation to be in the community? There are so many big picture pieces of the vision of your practice that we need clarification on so that you can create a strategy and set goals to get you there. If you don't create your vision and set the bullseye out on the wall, what are we throwing our darts towards? So we need to know what we're striving toward. Create the map. Where is the end destination that we're taking the practice? And now we can create a map from where we are to where we're going. It's really hard to use Waze or Google Maps if you don't have an end destination and you don't know where you are now. That's kind of challenging for the software. So it's challenging for you as a business owner or practice leader to create any kind of plan of action for change or for improvement if you don't know where you are and you don't know where you want to go. So answer those questions in terms of your vision. Share that with your team and set expectations today of where you're taking the practice and what your expectations are for yourself and for your team in terms of how we work with each other and with our patients and within the practice to achieve the goals we need to achieve to get to that vision. And make sure you have people on board that want to go there with you. Remember, Dr. Mark Hyman says, if you're leading and no one is following, you're just taking a walk. So we need to make sure that not only you're clear on where you're taking your team and your practice, but they're on board to go there with you. So what does right look like? Get really clear and then prioritize your goals. Now I know that was a lot in a little session here, and you may be saying, yeah, but Carrie, what are things, actual actionable things I can do to get myself unstuck and off center? So I just sat down in like a 5-minute time frame and thought of several things that you could focus on this year. And if you did these things, you would see an improvement in one way, shape, or form. Remember, if you're a high-performing practice, a 1% improvement can be a big deal. A 1% increase. And if you do 10 things 1% better, you get a 10% increase. This could be amazing. Get excited. Okay, so here are some ways to move forward in 2025. You ready? Take notes. Ask more patients for referrals and reviews. I would put money on the roulette board that you all are not consistently asking for referrals. Now, maybe I will give 10% of you the benefit of the doubt. There are 10% of you out there that might be, but the rest of you sometimes do. And sometimes isn't enough when we want 60 to 70% of our new patients to be coming to us from within. So ask for more referrals, and reviews are becoming such a powerful piece of your online presence and value building from potential patients. You need to be intentional about asking for reviews as well. Add one new customer service element to your patient experience. So walk through as a team your entire patient experience from when they come in the front door all the way through what their experience would look like to where they check out and leave. And think of something together as a team. Brainstorm what are pieces of the puzzle that we could add to elevate the patient experience and give them something to look forward to, something that they'd enjoy, and perhaps something that they would talk about. If you're a specialist, I really want to encourage you to do this. I recently worked with an ortho practice that we talked through this of how they can elevate the buzzworthiness of their patient experience. And so I want you to do the same for you, no matter what focus of dentistry you're in. In the end, it's not about you, it's about them and what the patient is experiencing. Very few people talk about the actual treatment that they were provided in the reviews, and they talk about how they felt and how they were cared for in their experience with you. So keep that in mind. Use photography and scans more. The end. Use it more. Hygienists, take the photos, take the scans. It's important. We as human beings, the majority of us are visual learners. You have these tools, use them. So make a plan this year of how you're going to utilize your intraoral cameras or your scanners more frequently in patient appointments. Evaluate your new patient flow in your marketing efforts. Are you getting the results that you need and want from what you're investing in marketing? And if you're not investing in marketing at all, why not? And if any of you have a plan, which I know that approximately, based upon the ADA Health Policy Institute, approximately 40% of those surveyed are planning on, are definitely going out of one plan at least, or are considering it. You're going to have to balance the scale of how you're getting your new patients once you leave these relationships with insurance plans. So what's your plan of how you're going to get new patients? Evaluate your marketing. Update your facility. Some of you think that you are a Cadillac, but you're a 1975 Cadillac. So we need to update our facility to reflect what you want the sense of value is from your patients. If you're cluttered, if you have stickers everywhere, if you have torn furniture, stains on the carpet, old chipped wall paint, whatever it is, look at your facility from the lens of the patient and ask yourself, am I building value with every piece of perception that they experience, or am I diminishing value? Update your facility. Evaluate your insurance relationships. I talked about that already. Plan out more intentionally your team meetings for the next 3 months. If you don't have team meetings, have team meetings for the next 3 months. What will you cover? What will you train on? What will be communicated? What goals will be set and tracked? Nobody wants to have a meeting just for the sake of saying we had a meeting. We want to have meetings that matter. And the only way we can do that is if we're proactive in our planning. So when you think about the goals you want to accomplish this year, or the things you want to improve in the practice this year, those are top priority line items of what we want to cover, review, adjust, adapt, and train on in our team meetings. So set them, plan them, and execute them with intention. Do it for 3 months, and then I want you to reach out to me and tell me if the planning and the proactive approach to the meetings made a difference for you. Increase your utilization of patient financing. I have run a few reports from Care Credit on my own clients and have been sadly shocked at how few have been utilizing patient financing in their treatment presentations, and how few have actually been putting in applications. And the reason that I'm shocked and sad is because I know the state of consumerism. And Care Credit and Synchrony Financial have even told us that the affordability of dentistry and even the ADA has told us, affordability and cost is our primary obstacle for patients moving forward with treatment. So don't get in your own way, and don't get in your patient's way of exploring all of their options for affordable care. So look at how you're utilizing patient financing. You can run those kind of reports to see for yourself. And do the work to work with these companies to determine how we can use their resources even better. Okay? Increase utilization of patient financing. And then focus on improving the financial conversation of your treatment consultations. Many, many, many of you out in the dental world are creating an experience with your patients that are basically in 2 different realms. Doctors, you're presenting treatment and all of those recommendations, chair side, and the patient's giving you a yes. But then you're just sending them up to the front desk, to the business team, without a very good handoff, without preparation for your preparation insights for your business team, and we're asking them on the fly to do a slam dunk financial consultation with these patients. Now, do you think that's going to get you the best possible result? I promise you, if you take a step back and evaluate as a team how you're doing that entire process with the patients, from the treatment consultation all the way through the financial conversation to getting a financial arrangement and scheduling the appointment, you will see a huge increase in treatment acceptance, because we're basically blindly throwing the baton down the hall in the hopes that someone saw that the baton was coming and that they can catch it behind their back with one eye. And what we need to do is work as a team, as a true Olympian relay team, on how we're going to deliver exceptional service and hand this patient off in all of those conversations as intentionally as possible. And if you have a consultation room that you are not utilizing, I encourage you to make 2025 your year to clean out all the stuff that you use that room for storage, clean it out, and use the space as a place to have those conversations, because it's a very intimate conversation, an emotional conversation with your patients, and we would do well to give it the honor it deserves for ourselves, for our patients, and for the results you hope to achieve. So those are the pieces that I would say, pick one. Pick one, focus on it, set goals on it, train on it, improve it, and see what a difference it can make in your practice this year. And I'm going to end with one final piece. Create a culture that attracts the right people and that keeps the right people. You not only want to attract the right people, and I'm talking about team members and patients, but you want them to stick. You want them to stay. So if you want to attract those right people to your practice, you need to create a culture that does that for you and with you. And that takes leadership, that takes a clear vision, and that takes accountability and a commitment to wanting not only the best for yourself, but the best for your team and the best for your patients. So if nothing else, work on the culture, and the culture will positively impact the rest of the practice. I can promise you that. So here's to a great 2025. Email me, info@jmsn.com, if you want the vision worksheet, or if you want to talk about your practice and how we can help be a resource for you. Let's have the conversation. Now's the time. Now is good, and I look forward to the conversation. In the meantime, thanks for being a part of the Jameson Files community. Be well, and we'll see you next time.